Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. The sun is shining in Mudville, but it's cold. But Lon's car is warm just because of solar heating.
Yes, we've gone solar.
I'm going to go buy vegetables and other things.
Get us some more cabbage, dear.
I think we had 3 kinds of cabbage last week. I already got some different kind this week too.
Yes,
but only 1 kind of cabbage this week.
We are just friendly bacteria in skin bags.
I have to put my mask on now.
Okay. So who is that masked woman?
I don't know, but she looks dangerous.
Yes. You look like a revolutionary.
Oh. Maybe later.
Okay. All right. Well.
Comrade.
Bye, comrade.
Bye. Bag.
Long live the revolution. After it starts. Okay. Here we are. Okay. I'm starting completely unprepared for the introduction here, but we were so close to actually starting, I thought I'd just go ahead and start, because I kind of know what we're going to do today. Anyway, I'm going to sort of try to, in a way, pick up where we left off yesterday when we were talking about magical initiations and how the formula of initiation is in and of itself magical. It doesn't have to be a magical organization that you're joining or a magical order that you're joining, but the formula of a proper initiation is almost overtly magical in and of itself. And we'd gotten to the point of where we were looking at the Egyptian Book of the Dead as sort of the granddaddy or grandma archetype for the formula of initiation, and that the formula laid out in the Egyptian Book of the Dead is not only a sort of a quaint Egyptian religious exercise, but it's also potentially a scientific exercise and skill on a technique of dying in such a way as you retain your, I don't want to say personality, but your individuality. Egyptian mythology has this idea that the deceased, after you die, the gods put you through sort of an ordeal or a testing, and of course this idea has spilled forward into later religions, like the Last Judgment and things like that. But if the deceased sort of flunks that test, the soul is eaten by a crocodile or a hippopotamus with a crocodile's mouth or a crocodile. And you just sort of dissolve into the great energy matrix, okay? Because nothing is ever created or lost in the cosmos, you know. So, of course, the essence of the machinery of your existence never dies, okay? But the who you are, that you have established in life, if it is your will, I guess, to retain that throughout the cycles of either birth or rebirth, or your consciousness expanding to the realm of the gods, then they wanted a technique, a scientific technique of something to do as you're dying to make sure you hold on to your real self in order to, like, take the next step, no matter what that is. If it's to be united with the glorified deity, the glorified Osiris, or if it is to better prepare to hold on to your memories of this incarnation, or at least the momentum you established by your existence in this incarnation, and carry it forward. In other words, you escape having your soul eaten by the crocodile. You escape disillusion into the energy matrix. Gee, maybe you like yourself. I think myself deserves to be in many incarnations, okay? The world needs me, okay? Or whatever. So, be that as it may, the initiatory experience. Homer said in concerning the rites, the holy rites, I think he was talking specifically about the rites of Eleusis, that the initiate undergoes a different experience than the uninitiated person at death, and that we have a different fate. The initiate has a different fate. And when he says initiate, it's just not, are you a paid-up teamster? The true initiate, somebody's had these higher levels of consciousness blasted open in them, and who are living at a level of consciousness that's different, more universal, more profound than someone that hasn't gone through the initiation. And that is big freaking magic, okay? And it's the magic of the Egyptians. I start this chapter off with a funny little thing, because a lot of people think, well, gee, initiations aren't real magic. Are you drawing stars and pentagrams? Okay. Several years ago, well, in this case, we're probably talking 30 years ago, 35 years ago. Several years ago, while trying to relax over a pint, several pints, in a London pub, I became embroiled in a spirited exchange of ideas with a celebrated author of the occult. Well, now that he's passed away, he's a dear friend and a dear soul and a great Thelemite and a great magician, Gerald Suster. This is Gerald Suster. And we were getting drunk together. And Gerald was a bit ahead of me at the just in the drinking anyway. He was a better drinker than I was, or at least a more enthusiastic one. Okay, Gerald, wherever you are, love you. I became embroiled in a spirited exchange of ideas with a celebrated author of the occult. I had just returned from Manchester, where I officiated at degree initiations of nearly 24 members of an international magical society. Just as a digression, I think it was 24 24 candidates. It was a marathon initiation. I believe it was a double initiation, the fourth degree and the Prince of Jerusalem, or perfect initiate degree of the OTO. So it was literally 48 initiations, and in one marathon night. And so I was just kind of punchy after doing that. It was not only exhausting, but it was exhilarating. And later on, just a couple days later, I had to take the hovercraft across the channel there, and took a train to Aachen, Germany, and did another 24. So it was almost a total of nearly 100 initiations in just like a week period. But anyway, I digress. My colleague of letters, or Gerald, asked me if I planned to perform any magic while in Britain. I told him I'd done little else since arriving, and I told him of the marathon initiations in Manchester. I mean real magic, he interjected. Pentagram rituals, hexagram rituals, invocations, evocations, god forms. Real magic. I could hardly believe my ears. What do you mean? I protested. Initiation is real magic. You know as well as I that a well-crafted initiation is a fundamental expression of the high magic of the Egyptians. Pentagrams, hexagrams, invocations, evocations, and such may be employed during an initiation, but they're tools, components of a greater ceremony of personal transformation. You can't get more magical than that. I fear that my point was drowned in the creamy dark amber of yet another round of stout, and the evening wearily reached its nadir when I was repeatedly challenged to mount the table and execute a star ruby. A star sapphire. Nevertheless, the debate afforded me the opportunity to re-examine and organize my thoughts on the subject, and I've been graciously allowed this sober forum to act as a Monday morning quarterback. Now I hope to share some of the things I should have told him. Okay, and please note that Gerald and I remain close, dear friends, at least as much as people separated by an ocean can be. Okay, where we left off yesterday, I started talking about the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and how stuck between the legs, rolled up and stuck between the legs of every well-dressed Egyptian mummy was a copy of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. And that the Egyptian Book of the Dead is something that was meant to be memorized while a person is alive and healthy, memorized to such a degree that they could more or less repeat it back. And so while they're sort of starting to drift away in the death coma, they can repeat the entire lengthy experience that they memorized in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. I recall on my third, this is just one digression after another, at my, when I was raised to Master Mason, at the ceremony of the third degree, quite an adventure. It's a dramatic ritual where the candidate actually plays the main role, and there's various portions and stations in the initiation ceremony that are significant, and you're meant to remember at each step of the initiation, right up to the climax of the initiation. You're meant to remember it. It's so important that you remember that experience, that the experience has been distilled into a narrative of many pages. What happened to you next? Well, they did this and did this and did this, and how were you addressed? Well, they called me this and they called me that, and then what did you do? Well, I hopped up on the and then what happened? Well, this guy said this to me. The officer said this to me, and the entire speech that officer gave you, you memorize, you repeat it back from memory. And the year that I joined the Masons, which was like 25 years ago, they just started to allow you to hold your degree without having to read back or give back, is what they call it, from memory, the entire long form of the initiation. And there was just a couple things you needed to memorize. But if you, in California anyway, if you intended to be an officer in any capacity at your lodge, then you had to be able to give back the long form. And you're assigned a tutor, and you call on the phone, and they come to your house, and you go to their house, and they help you for a couple months to memorize this whole thing. And then on lodge night, you come back into the lodge. It's the business of the evening. And they sit you in a chair in an open lodge, in a formally opened, magically opened lodge. The master is in the east, and they put a chair right in front of the master, and you sit in the chair, and they more or less say, "Give it back." And you start repeating this thing. Okay, it took me, anyway, like about 40 minutes of non-stop memory work, word by word. And you give it back. And I noticed that the old guys, the old 80-year-old guys, new guys too, sideliners, who came to witness you do that, their lips were moving to everything you said. And if you dropped one word or said one word out of place, you heard all sorts of in the background. These guys knew it, letter perfect. And we were all on the same page, and we were all going through that ceremony together. And just like the Egyptian Book of the Dead, these guys could do it in their sleep. My brother was a Mason and my father was a Mason, and as he lay dying in the hospital, my brother sat by his side and held his hand and repeatedly gave the pass grips and grips of the 3 degrees over and over and over. My brother gave it to him, he gave it back. The next degree, my brother gave it to him, he gave it back. They could do it in their sleep. They could do it as they're dying. Now, I'm not saying every Mason does that, but the formula is there, and that's what was expected of the deceased in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Once imprinted upon the subconscious mind, the formula of initiation is difficult, if not impossible, to remove. If allowed to imprint the deepest stratum of the psyche, it may even provide the diligent aspirant the key to overcoming death. Now, in the Golden Dawn, you're required in your study and progress through the degrees to become proficient in the assumption of God forms. And these are Egyptian God forms, and there's various God forms. Now, why did these 19th century Englishmen pluck, or English men and women, pluck the Egyptian pantheon just out of the air for the assumption of God forms? It's because of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Under the heading, being dead is just like being alive, except when you close your eyes, it's light. And I have the chapter for the repelling a crocodile, which comes to take away the spirit's magic from the god's domain. The Great One hath fallen on his side, but the Aeneid have pulled him together. I come, my soul speaks with my Father, and I have this Great One from those 8 crocodiles. And I know them by their names and their lives, and I save my Father from them. Get back, you crocodile of the West, who lives on the unwearying stars. Detestation of you is in my belly, and I have absorbed the power of Osiris, and I am Seth. And you assume the god form of Seth. This is a banishing ritual, guys. A banishing ritual on steroids, where one by one you become different Egyptian god forms. You assume the god forms. This is big, big magic. Again, same crocodile. Get back, you crocodile of the West. The now snake is in my belly, and I have not given myself to you. Your flame will not be on me. Then he turns around to the east. Get back, you crocodile of the East, who lives on those who are mutilated. Detestation of you is in my belly, and I have gone away, for I am Osiris. Then turn to the south. Well, I'm skipping the tail end of that. Repeats every time. Your flame will not be on me. Then he turns to the south. Get back, you crocodile of the south, living on feces, smoke, and want. Detestation of you is in my belly, and my blood is not in your hand, for I am Sopt. S-O-P-D, another Egyptian god form. Get back, you crocodile of the north, living on, and it's so disgusting, it's just ... which is in the midst of the stars. Detestation of you is in my belly, and your poison is in my head. I am Atum. I am the one whose eyes are green. Oh, excuse me. Get back, you crocodile of the north. A scorpion is in my belly, and I will not give it birth. I am clad and equipped with your magic, O Re, hurrah. Even this which is above me and below me. I am exalted. My throat is wide open in the house of my Father the Great One, and he has given me yon beautiful west which destroys the living. Okay, it's a banishing ritual. In the Book of the Dead, the deceased cannot skip the pylons and ordeals and cut straight to the boat ride. At each step of the way, the candidate must prove to the executors of the powers and energies of that unique quadrant that he or she knows the score. More importantly, at each step of the way, the candidate must convince the candidate that he or she knows the score. Besides the fact that it bears a striking resemblance to a modern banishing ritual, the above chapter from the Book of the Dead reveals that the deceased maintains a perpetual monologue of self-affirmations. It is as though he or she must keep talking in order to maintain the focus necessary to avoid drifting astray in the afterlife. Could all this concentrated chatter be the central secret to overcoming death? After all, our consciousness of existence is all that's holding our individuality together. Perhaps if we could master a technique that would enable us to perpetuate our consciousness along each step of the post-mortem trail, we could maintain the equipment necessary to actually experience the bliss of our full spiritual destiny. Without such a technique, the individual consciousness unit will disintegrate and dissolve into the universal energy matrix, a soul eaten by Amit. Just look at the links the Book of the Dead goes to bolster the deceased's confidence and keep his or her mind minutely focused on the matter of hand. Come and enter by this door of the Hall of Justice, for you know us. We will not let you enter by us, saith the doorpost of this door, unless you tell our name. Plummet of Truth is your name. I will not let you enter by me, says the right-hand leaf of the door, unless you tell me my name. Scale Pan, which way's truth is your name. I will not let you enter by me, says the left leaf of the door, unless you tell me my name. Ha ha, Scale Pan of Wine is your name. I will not let you pass by me, says the floor of this door, unless you tell you, etc., etc., etc. This exchange goes on with the door bolt, the hasp, the cross timbers, the door itself. Once in the hall, the deceased goes through the same drill with the floor of the hall and a score of other pieces of furniture and body parts. I can almost hear the priest of Osiris giving a pep talk to the newly deceased. Attaboy, Annie. Don't stop thinking. Keep pretending. Pretend to ask. Pretend you answer. Pretend you answer. Stay concentrated. Keep up the flow of pretending. Don't give him time to throw you off guard. Don't give him time to ask you anything you can't answer. Keep it moving. There's another one. Tell him his name. Tell him what color his socks are. Tell him the name of his socks. Announce you have the right to pass. Never mind what he looks like. You're cool. Keep moving. Don't be distracted. Keep focused. Focus yourself through the planes until you hit the mark. Ever since childhood, I've experienced dreams of flying. I now consider these experiences to be a variety of astral projection, and have developed my nocturnal flying skills to such a degree that under the right circumstances I can pop out quite easily. In my early years, however, each flight ended in exactly the same way. I'd be sailing along quite blissfully, fully intending to go somewhere. Then I'd realize I was flying and ask myself, how the hell am I doing this? Once the element of doubt entered the equation, I tumbled like Icarus. Over the years, I've talked to so many people who've exactly the same experience that I've concluded it's a universal psychic occurrence. But if a little bit of concentration and practice enables us to remain airborne in dreams, could not the same skills be honed to propel us toward a supreme goal in the precious, magic moments of early death consciousness? Is this why those who do not possess this skill, quote, will not have the same lot as the initiate once they are dead and dwell in the mold where the sun goes down? And I believe that's from Homer's hymn to Demeter. And I end it with a little postscript. Hathor, Lady of the West, she of the West, Lady of the sacred land, eye of Re, which is on his forehead, kindly of countenance in the bark of millions of years, a resting place for him who has done right within the boat of the blessed, who built the great bark of Osiris in order to cross the water of truth. And that's where we'll end this discussion. And I hope you found something there to at least stimulate your imagination where this is concerned. And what I really hope is that no matter what your way is, no matter what your spiritual path is, no matter what you do to be initiated into that path, give it some respect, even if it is not overtly magical or overtly spiritual. It is part of that process of resistance, struggle to overcome that resistance, and the mutation that happens to you, the change that occurs in you because of that experience, your initiation. Until tomorrow, and well, I'm not sure what tomorrow is going to bring because I'm going to have to take this car in for a tune-up tomorrow. It may be interrupted a little, but anyway, until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. Today's initiation is over.